Welcome to another episode of Comics and Sweet Tea. So proud to present Fred Kennedy and Nick Barankovich, the brains behind Dead Romans. I absolutely love this book. If you guys watch the show, I've mentioned it quite a few times. Just absolutely ecstatic to have these guys on. Hey, man, ask and you shall receive. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you should have reached out a while ago.
I
I would
should
have
have
come
reached out
before, yeah.
forever ago, man. But anyway, I think it's perfect timing. I believe in that. I believe in fate. I know you guys are fixed to be the second arc's coming, correct?
Yeah.
How far out are we looking before we actually get number 7?
Well, we just got an email from our editor, Allison, and she kind of like mapped out some stuff. So we want to have everything in to Eric because we're with Image Central for the second arc rather than Shadowline.
Right.
Jim's awesome to deal with. It wasn't like, oh, we're leaving. He just was like, I'm going to step away.
Yeah.
You guys go with Image Central for this one. So the plan is to get everything in to Eric by the end of the year and then have everything start to trickle out all next year. I'm assuming that's what the plan is. Allison is the one you've got to ask for the specifics about those things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How insane is that? You call Jim Valentino Jim by his first name. How insane is that? I mean, seriously, did you ever think you would be that? I got to get with Jim, and we got.
It's weird. Nick is on way better terms with Jim than I am. He loves Nick because he's an artist too.
Well, he's an artist first, yeah.
Nick. And so, but I will email Jim for advice about stuff. He has a reputation of being kind of a prickly guy, but he shoots from the hip, and then if you just say, I'm sorry, man, I didn't know that, then he'll say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have reacted like that. That was really off the cuff. I like talking to Jim because he has like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like his repertoire is so long. There was that post on Instagram from Image about like the Shadowhawk when they did the whole Marvel like reveal with the cast of Doomsday,
right.
And then Image posted one with the chair with Shadowhawk on it, and I just saw it in passing, and I wrote Jim being like, "Oh my God, are you serious? There's a Shadow? Oh wait, no, there's not a Shadowhawk movie coming down." That would have been pretty great. I was gonna ask him like, let me get my fingers in that, man. Let me write it or do something with it. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. I think Jim was the right guy for us as well. Like myself, similar to him, I've always kind of felt myself. I've never been fully on the commercial comic side, nor fully on the indie comic side. I'm kind of hovering in between because I love both, and it's whatever I'm feeling for the next project. And I think Jim was always like that as well. Obviously, with Image, he decided to be successful.
Well, I'm going to gush for just a minute, Nick. Your work, man, you are an inspiration to everybody, dude. I mean, seriously, your stuff is absolutely fucking incredible. I just got to get that out front. The stuff that you're doing, man, I mean, it's mind blowing. It's I know it's comic art, but it almost looks like it's just a painting. It's just absolutely incredible what you're doing, especially in Dead Romans. And I've seen bits and pieces from the work that you did on the Assassin's Creed thing. I mean, that looks incredible. I can't wait to see what you've got coming for this next arc of Dead Romans. I mean, I'm done.
Thanks for saying so, man. I never know. I'm always hypercritical of my work.
God. We all are.
I feel you have to be if you're gonna keep improving. And I know Fred's always like, it's good. What are you talking about?
Hey, no, we sit together at a lot of shows, and then Nick will do these commissions, and I feel like I should be his agent because I'm like, what are you charging us for this? And he's like, I'm charging like this. Give a number. I'm like, I would be charging like double, like maybe even triple for this, and people would pay for it. And I feel like that's kind of like jerky to do, but at the same time, like those commissions that you were doing last summer, like something is killing the children, and then you did that Harley Quinn, and then you did that Batman. Like those were insane commissions. Like they were so good. Nick's commissions, like if I was going to a show and I saw Nick on there, that's the first person I'd be emailing for a commission. First of all, great deal, great pricing with this guy.
We'll have to hit him up. Hey, you need to be his agent.
Yeah.
You're talking me up.
Full
I've been
page,
scared to ask.
and he does full
I have
page with these
honestly been
busts.
scared to ask.
No, ask away. Not yet though. We're kind of on the gun with Dead Romans. Wait till this is done, then get all on board with it.
Yeah.
Right.
I did promise Fred no more commissions.
No more
man.
commissions.
I got to get
coverage.
Dead Romans out this year. I want to get the solicitations out by San Diego. So because I mean I wanted it out now, but I've totally been slacking on it. And although I'm in a groove right now and it's looking great, and
the pages you posted just this week about Portus look awesome. They look so good.
Thanks,
man. Like Rome wasn't a port. Rome was like up the Tiber, and so there's this massive port. It was at the time it was one of the largest ports in the world, and it was right at the mouth of Tiber. There was the original Portus and then the Neo Portus, like the new Portus, which is this massive expansion of the port. And there's a scene that kind of takes place that's kind of important right there. It's at the beginning of issue 2. It's right near the beginning.
Yeah.
And Nick's layouts for it. And I remember you sent me the message. You're like, oh, I don't think I've ever done a city this good. Just wait till you see it. And I started like, I love it. Listen, I knew I was going to love it before. You didn't have to sell me on it, but it's all looking really good. And I think what's cool about the stuff that you're going to draw, like I think Nick's iconography that he throws in with his work is really cool. And I feel like when I first wrote the first arc, we're just kind of like feeling out where our relationship is with the words and the pictures, and like just using the panels and stuff to tell the story and bring you in, and always like having leeway with Nick to like throw in like, if you want to punch this, you want to make this bigger, go ahead. And as you see, like once the second and third issues start to come out, you start to see more of that, like the big finale at the end of issue 5, when you've got the full transition of Arminius into like the Germanic king with the king of the forest,
right?
Antlers. We really were on a groove, and I think with this issue, we're in a groove from step 1. And I love the way he uses negative space, and we have some cool scenes with the Emperor Tiberius in the Roman palace, and just the way you play with the shadows and the arcs of light coming in. It's really cool. But there's one specific scene, and I don't know if you've read this part, but there's like a really cool scene with a deer, a wolf, and an eagle. And I don't know if you've read that far, Nick, but there's a lot of standstills and dialogue, inset, and transitions with the imagery. Mm-hmm. And to me, like of the pages that I'm excited for, these are it. Like these are the ones. And there's also some cool stuff with Arminius in the second issue, because the sorceress becomes a much bigger character. There's a splash page with her in issue 2 of the first arc where she's doing the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah.
So she becomes a much bigger character in the second arc. And there's some really cool stuff that happens with her and Arminius as the story moves along. The visuals are really going to pop for this issue. Yeah. But I want to, if you do the final issue, like if you do the very last page, can you do it traditionally so I can have it? I just want the art. For
my absolutely. I had
to get that out of the way on record in public so everybody knows.
Oh, for those asking, because a lot of people asked with the first arc, now I am doing the covers traditionally. The inks, that is. The colors are still being done digitally.
Right.
But there's so much demand for pages from the first arc, and I still do the interiors digitally just for speed.
Gotcha.
But I was like, oh man, people want the covers. I can ink those.
That stuff was insane. It really was. I mean, just breaking stuff as far as I'm concerned. You know, you mentioned Something's Killing the Children. I credit that book and the book you guys did for Get Me Back into Comics.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I mean, I had pretty much kind of, which I've always done that from time to time, but I'd been out of collecting any kind of mainstream stuff for quite a while. And, just doing my own books, doing the Kickstarter thing. And then I seen one of those covers. I'm like, holy shit, what is
Which
this?
one was it?
I want to say it's going to be Honoria with like the horns.
Yeah.
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 And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like,
that print sells every time. Like we
Yeah.
always run out of that print.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
and I jumped in, head first. I want to say 6 wasn't out yet. I don't believe, maybe 5 wasn't out yet. I think y'all 4 issues were out, and I ordered those up, and man, just breezed through it. Read them multiple times while I was waiting on 5 and 6, and I mean, it's just, dude, when I get in a place where I'm getting some kind of block, whether it be writer's block, anything like that, I'll just sit down and read those books, man. So thank you guys. I mean, seriously, thank you. They're incredible.
That's a nice thing to say, because even today, I have my go-to stack of books, some literally from when I was a kid, that they're still my inspirations today. And it's almost like you just want to take yourself back there to that feeling when
Right.
you're reading them, and you're like, oh yeah, man, this is like
What is it like? Is it the art you go for, or is it the story? I just
Both.
watched this documentary about
Both.
Jack Kirby and stuff, about like guys that didn't like Jack Kirby as kids, but now like, oh my god, I was a fool for not liking Jack Kirby.
I think I saw clips of that.
Yeah,
actually.
you might have been the one to send it to
I've
me.
seen that. I've seen that. Yeah. A
I-
lot of people have come back to appreciate the King, man. When I was a kid, I was like, it's okay. It's okay.
Mhm.
I was an idiot. I go back and I look at that stuff now, and I mean, he's basically the godfather of modern comics, man. What he did with
sure.
space,
Yeah.
and just the designs. You think of what he did. He pretty much created the Marvel Universe single-handedly. I mean, seriously, design-wise, he did. And that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, that's not hyperbole for him. Out of all people, yeah, that's a fair statement to say.
I still love Ron Lim stuff, man. Like that, like
Yeah,
90s, like everyone's shredded, everyone's
Yeah.
elegant. I love it all. Like, and then
Have you heard the story about Ron?
No.
They pretty much he took on so much, he pretty much broke himself. I think he had a minor stroke, and he has just gotten back into comics here in the last few years. If I believe that's right. But he was doing 5 books a month at one time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Actually, I have inks right there. That's like his Rebirth of Thanos. It's the page where Drax and Silver Surfer are fighting in space. And I met him at Comic-Con in San Diego years ago, and I just gushed about like all this. I think I kind of weirded him out because he gave me a really good deal on the page so that I'd go away, I think.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Let me get the stalker out of here.
Yeah. But it was, I don't regret any of it because I got that sweet page. So I like the Silver Surfer is my dream character, and that run with him, that whole era, and that's what made me love the Silver Surfer as a character. And what's cool is at the opening of the Rebirth of Thanos, there's this massive splash page with this crowd. And if you look in the crowd, there's like the Ninja Turtles are there. Garfield is there. The cast from Denver, the Last Dinosaur is all in there. There's all these crazy little cameos and stuff. And the way it was colored with just like this orange wash, you don't really notice unless you go through and look for it. And I asked, like, is there any way you've got that page kicking? He goes, I don't even remember selling it. So no,
Wow.
it's been gone for decades. Yeah.
That's insane. That's why I love to go back and get the artist editions. Even if the artist doesn't have it, they try to collect it all up, the original pages, and just going back and seeing, first off, that they're human and they made mistakes. You can see the little eraser lines, maybe, and that was one of the big things for me. I always wanted to be in comics, and growing up in South Mississippi, that's pretty much not going to happen, I mean, but anyway, that's horse shit too, by the way, because I'm doing it now. But anyway,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want to do.
That's
you
right.
just got to have the balls to get out there and do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Marco Rudy's story is fascinating. Like, he is a guy, he now lives in Montreal, and he is from Mozambique, and he left Mozambique to go to, I think he came to Toronto first. I don't know his exact journey, but it's like he had the dream to do comics. And Marco's got like a really unique style, like this really paintery style that he's done. And his, like, the same as you, like, came from a place that's not going to happen, but he chased it, he like refused to give up, and he chased it down. And now Marco's doing very well for himself. He's set up in Montreal. We've got, by the way, not bringing that up just to plug it, but we've got a story in Savage Sword of Conan at the end of the month together. So just everybody should know.
I read about that.
Yeah.
I read about that.
But I think it's rare, unless you come from a family of artists, commercial artists, that anyone thought it was a plausible thing to do. We all had different career expectations, and then we're like, at one point, you're just like, nah, man, fuck it, I'm just gonna try it. And it either works or it doesn't, right? And I think it's all about those who give up and those who don't, and the people who keep going are the ones who just didn't give, because it's a fucking shit show for years at the beginning.
What was your first gig like? Did you go to post-secondary for like art and graphic design, and then it got right into comics? Yeah, like what was the step for you?
I thought you knew this. Okay, so
okay, no,
look
that's
at my
right.
story.
You went to school for chemistry or something, right?
I had a degree in genetics and biochemistry.
Wow.
Yeah, because for me it was like, oh yeah, you can't do this for a living. It's ridiculous, But I drew all as a kid in high school, and then all in university. I didn't touch the pen ever. And then I came back, I graduated, got my degree, and I was like unemployed. And then an old friend of mine got in touch with me. We lost touch because I was living in a different city during university. And then he was like, hey man, there's a show coming up in Toronto. Why don't we do a few pages like we always talked about and see what happens? And from that, 3 months later, I had my first gig doing the Underworld movie adaptation. And had that not happened, I always wonder to this day, would I have even bothered to try again? But it was just like, once you get that taste, you're like, oh yeah, oh man, I made it. I did not make it at that point, because believe me, it was touch and go for a long time. But once you're like, okay, I can do this. I just have to figure it out how to do it consistently.
Well, what was the path to Kank? Because like that poster behind him, Kank, is like this unbelievable book.
Yeah.
It's just such a cool book. Like it's just cool, man. It's about this bike thief, a real story about a real guy who was like the most prolific bike thief in history, like would steal bikes, bike chop shop. But he's this fascinating character. What happened like with Underworld and then leading to Kank? How did that go? Like, what's the step-by-step process?
Oh, okay. So Kank came out about 4 years later. So with Underworld, I was like really busy. It was almost like it was like night and day, like all of a sudden, I had Underworld. I did this Marvel gig, Fantastic Four and the Hulk. Then I did this other series for Devil's Due called Nightwolf, all like within 2 years. I was crazy busy. When you're that young, I was like 26 at the time. You can work all night. It's amazing. I can't do that anymore. I'm an old man.
I miss those days.
But so you kind of burnt out, and then I had my daughter coming along. She was just born, and I was freaking out because I I was barely scraping by, even with all those gigs. You know, I think I had a lot of those gigs because when you're a new artist, you're not billing that much. You know, you're a cheap option, and but I was, you know, I didn't feel I was making it work financially, so I was like, you know, fuck it, and I got a job doing advertising, and when I was making, oh wow, like a steady paycheck, and I did that for a few years. And then Alex Jansen, the guy who runs Pop Sandbox, who had produced Kenk, he was doing a documentary on Igor, and I met him through another friend. And you know, the footage was all like really grainy. So he had the idea, you know, can you make this into a book if you were to take stills from it? And I was just like, I mean, the project sounded so great. It was like one of those things that I would never have had the idea, but I'm more than willing to jump on with someone who does have that idea. And Alex is one of those guys. And we did it. And man, of all the things that happened right when we were in mid-production, Igor got busted. And it was like one of the biggest Canadian media stories. It was one of the ones of that year. And it was all this free publicity, and it was just like it just fell into our lap. It couldn't have worked out better. So this indie book from a first-time publisher all of a sudden became the best-selling title in Canada that year. Yeah, totally. And we were, you know, unknowns at the time.
What's funny about you talking about it is like when I was talking about doing Dead Romans, I had the idea, and our mutual friend Kalman was the one who's like, he was, well, I told him the idea, and I had that opening scene was all laid out.
Right.
And then, but I didn't have an artist because I always try and work with Kalman. I always try and work with him. And he like always brushes me off. Not in the sense like, I don't want to work with you. Just like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't want to commit to doing it. He goes, but there's a guy. Have you read Kenk? And I went, I have not read Kenk. He goes, that's the guy. That's the guy you need. And so that was with the show when I went to try and talk to Nick, because you also had the Voyager. And I bought the Voyager and I read it the first day of the show.
Yeah.
So that when I went,
that's when we met.
I would like, oh, I've read the book. Come and do a book with me. And then I that was like when I asked you to do it, and it was. And like the way I tell the story, it makes it seem like I'm taking a cheap shot, but like we have told this story so many times, and it's so true. And I empathize with Nick's position about how like everybody talks to artists at shows, and if you don't know them, if you're not introduced by a mutual, it's a very like, who's this guy? You know, like who's this guy? And the thing about sometimes the cons on the show floor is when somebody is working and they don't have like a big, huge like library of work or catalog of work behind them. There's like this impetus to sell yourself, and you oversell yourself, and everybody that they get a sense of that, they're like, why is this guy selling himself so hard to me? And then you kind of like you irk them. And I also have a habit. I come in hot. I come in hot all the time. And it's like, it puts some people off, a lot of people off, and it's like, it's just, I'm an exuberant guy is the best adjective. I get super excited about things. And so I was telling him my story about, oh, this is going to be so cool and Romans and all this. And I think I put Nick off, and then he's like, oh, sure, reach out to me later. I gave him, because you always wait a few days after the show. And then when I messaged him after the show, he was listening to like the History of Rome podcast at the time. Yeah. And it's like, everyone's like, no way. But it's like, no, like ask him. That's what happened. And so then
that's like absolutely,
some serendipity, you know? And then we met drinks the next week, and like, we had the whole thing plotted before the first beer was done. We knew everything. Like, we didn't even talk money, like, until we were like, we'd paid for the bill. And he's like, well, what about money? I'm like, we'll figure it all out. I just want to get it done. So then that was it. Yeah.
And even I got to admit, like, by the time we talked about money, I was like, okay, I like this guy. And that's honestly, it comes down to that. You like each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it comes down to, you know?
And we talked about making.
You have to. I mean, you're going to be working so close together. I mean, you have to get along.
That's what a lot of it comes down to, is people work with their friends.
Yeah.
Right.
When we had those drinks, though, the initial vibe we were going to, because you were all amped up on Heredity. Heredity at that point. Was it Hereditary? Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Movie. Yeah. You were all amped up on that movie.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do you wanted it to have bit more of a horror vibe. And that's why we did a lot of stuff in the swamps with the screaming and the sacrifices and all that stuff. Because it is like a horrible book in the sense that there's a lot of horror going on in it. Because it's like we talk,
a lot of horrible shit going on.
Yeah, like
in fact, if anything, I think we toned it down.
Yeah,
you know, I think it could have been way more visceral, but you know,
there's like there's a book because like when you're talking about like reading the comic for like inspiration and stuff, I think that Rupert Cornwall, is it Rupert Cornwall? Robert Cornwell, the guy who does The Last Kingdom and all that stuff. The Last Kingdom.
Those are great. Those are great.
I love his style. Like I love the way he writes books. And the thing about his books is that what I love about him is that so many people try and like, well, you didn't see that coming. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you didn't see that. But like his books have a very formulaic style, but it's the way he gives you that formula that makes it different.
Right.
I think his there's a book called The Winter King, which is about King Arthur, but it's about King Arthur in a grounded, realistic way of telling the story of King Arthur and the gathering of the Knights of the Round Table and Lancelot and Merlin and all these characters. And there's the movie that was done with Clive Owen, but it's like, this is not like that at all. It's like, it's a very
Fuqua movie.
What?
Was it Anton Fuqua?
That movie.
Yeah. No, it's so tropey. This the book, The Winter King. It is filled with all
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, but it's like
never heard of that one.
It's just what makes it cool is that the story is not ever told. It's not told from King Arthur's perspective. It's told from one of his followers' perspectives. And the first third of the book, King Arthur's not even in the book. And all you do is hear stories about the guy and how like he's the best guy. Oh, it's cute. He's Arthur. He's the best. When you see the banner with the bear, you know it's getting done because Arthur's there. And then when you finally see him, it's the most tropey, cliche nonsense, but you are in it. You are loving everything about it. Yeah, like that's like my.
This is by The Last Kingdom
guy. Yeah, Rupert Cornwall.
Oh, right on.
The same guy who wrote it. It's called the Winter King. His like. That guy dumps out like 2 books a year. It's insane. He's so prolific. Like he just sits down, smokes his pipe, and writes like crazy. It's wild. There's 27 Sharps Rifles novels. 27.
That's by him as well?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Busy guy, man.
Busy guy. Like that's what I want to be. We got to up our numbers, Nick. We got a lot of books to put out.
Fred's way faster than me.
That's the dream for you, Fred, to get out of radio and go completely into writing?
Well, I think radio is going to get rid of me before that happens. I just want to be ready for when it does happen. So I'm just writing as much as I can. Yeah. Like, the funny thing is like right now I got a lot of stuff that's like bubbling under.
Yeah.
Because I work I work at a very frantic pace. So I'll work like and I'll just dump my brain into something like at a frantic speed to get it done, and then I'll come back to it like a month later to pass over it again and shave it all down. And that's why I really love our editor Allison, because she doesn't edit and get it back to you right away. She goes, I've got it, I've read it, I'm going to give you 2 weeks, and then I'm going to send it back so you come at it fresh.
That makes sense.
You know, with Fred, I think there's something about when he's in this like frame of mind. For example, we had a production company looking at Dead Romans to option it, and Fred and I originally thought of this as like a 2-arc series. Fred came up with like an extra, like he came up with like a prequel, a sequel, an intermediary.
5 seasons, Nick. I came up with 5 seasons.
And he did that like, dude, how long did it take you to do that? 2 weeks? I thought it was even faster. But he came up with that. And when I read his treatments for them all, I was just like, I want to do all these, you know, like it's a shame if we just keep it at 2. Let's do it all, man. Like, and
well, let's talk to Eric. Let's see if we can do the other ones too, Nick. If you're down, we'll talk to him. We'll send him an email.
That's insane,
Yeah.
man. I'm in it. I'm in it
Yeah.
for the long haul, guys.
Yeah.
Put them out. And
Think about it like that shelf, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3.
yeah,
I know you're thinking of it. Yeah.
So tell me this. I don't do scripted, but I do have a few questions that I ask every creator. I know you're pretty much getting the dream project out now, Fred, but if you could pick anything, what would you write? We're talking Star Wars, we're talking anything.
Silver Surfer, Conan the Barbarian are the dream characters. To do a prolonged Conan arc would be super rad. Bran Morn is another character, like a Robert E. Howard character that I would love to write. And basically, Arminius and Bran Morn are very similar kind of characters. He's like this Howard character, and the Picts, like he's like it's set in the Roman times. It's this Robert E. Howard story that's set in the Roman times, and the Picts always in Conan, you know, they're barbaric and brutal and dim-witted caveman type guys. Well, they weren't always like that. Back in the era of Atlantis, they were like a noble people, and Bran Morn is the last of the true Picts, and he sees his people as what they could be while having to come to grips constantly with what they are now. And so he believes in his people, he fights for his people, but they constantly let him down with their inability to elevate themselves out of the swamp. And he's a very tragic character, but he's a very noble character. And I love those types of characters. Like, I just love that archetype of character that's just fighting the fight that they don't think they can win.
Mm-hmm.
There's
like a noble tragedy to that.
Yeah.
You know? And
everybody roots for the underdog, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's like when you become a parent, as a parent, you get that idea, like your kid is your kid, and you see what they can be, even when they're acting like a mutt. Like, it's like, bud, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's like that. And you read the stories, and the stories, I love Robert E. Howard's writing because he doesn't follow specific formulas, but there's boxes that tend to get checked. And there's almost every story with Bran Morn, things that go wrong, the Picts are always playing a role in the shit that happens to them. Like, one of them will get caught stealing. There's a tenuous alliance, and one of them will attack a guy. And it's just like, you idiots.
Yeah. Like, so it's like poor decision making.
Yes. Yeah. But Bran Morn is the one who's always trying to clean it up.
Yeah.
And keep everything on track. And I love him. The Silver Surfer, of course, like I've got a long list of stories for the Silver Surfer that are already mapped out and ready to go if that ever happens. But
I'd love to do that, you know?
Yeah.
I think in like my high contrast style, I think I could rock Silver Surfer, man.
100% you could.
I do too, man. I think you could rock any fucking thing you want to do.
Thanks for saying that, man.
So, Nick, what would be the dream project for you? Something you've always wanted to check that box.
Oh, loaded question, man. Conan would be one for sure. When I was a kid, my older brother introduced me to Conan the Barbarian when I was way too young to have watched it, you know, with any good conscience, but you know, it opened up my eyes. I mean, in terms of the established commercial IPs, I don't know. Silver Surfer.
I think you'd rock a Daredevil story, man.
Daredevil, absolutely.
You'd crush a Daredevil. Like 1972 Daredevil. That's what you should do.
With your use of light and the way you do your shadows, it would be insane. A Daredevil book, it really would. That would be incredible.
Yeah, and you know, Jerry, even with this issue, I feel like I'm really channeling the older Frank Miller stuff. I keep going back, and more I find him to be such an inspiration. Not that he ever wasn't, but like in terms of just the minimalism of it all And
Yes.
even if you see the new art, I'm rendering it a lot less. It's more like just straight black and white, and
Right.
just the blocks of black relative to the white, which I think Frank was doing like amazingly. And I think he kind of started that in Daredevil, and then we would expand it. You know, he went through this creative process. You know, Daredevil, Ronin, Elektra, and
Right.
and
some of it's Sin City.
Sin City
He took
was
it
when
to
he
the
kind
next
of,
level.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
We actually have something we're tinkering with that I'm amped.
100%.
The post Dead Romans thing.
Yeah.
Of like a horror story. It's
Yeah.
really dark.
God, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like mythological folk horror, you know what I mean? And it's pretty rad. And it was Nick's idea. Nick was the one who gave it to me, and then I got all like because he tells me these things while we're sitting at shows, and you're kind of like sitting there, and then you're selling, but then you're thinking. So I kind of was thinking about it all weekend, and then like by the end of the week back home, I had sent him like this massive run. I'm like, and here's where we're going. Here are the characters. Yeah. This is what's happening. These are the big scenes that I'm really excited to see you draw. Yeah. Like we started thinking about like what's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like what are primal fears? Like what are the things that everyone is scared of? And drowning is something that I think is like a I can't think of anything worse than drowning. You work in the ocean. You understand. You
exactly.
You get it.
It's horrible. So I couldn't even imagine.
Like I remember watching there was the crabbing show. There were crabbers off the North Atlantic. Pardon?
That one? Deadliest Catch?
Deadliest Catch. Yeah. And they were talking about like everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story, you know, and it's like if your foot gets caught in the chain when the trap goes, you're gone. Like it's over for you. Like you'll get pulled down, and within like seconds, you're like 300 feet under the water. You're not coming up. Like, and if you do, you're not alive. And it's like that idea of like descending into blackness and being unable to breathe, like that is horrible.
Horrific. And
so we're talking about ways you could draw it on the page. And like we're just basically like talking about the most morbid, dark, awful, depraved stuff because there's a lot of Hellenic themes in it. So like with Bacchus and these like sacrifices, it's really out there and weird. We'd love for somebody to give us money to do it. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Oh, we'll find the money. The money we'll find
the money.
You'll see.
Yeah,
because it was meant to be.
Yeah,
you know, for me, I remember I keep bringing up this movie to Fred. Not many people know it. It's called A Dark Song, and the whole movie is just these two people in a house performing this pagan rite, and in the interest, they're trying to summon a guardian angel, and the movie just gets terrifying, and it's literally two people performing this ritual. That's it. The whole movie is that. And I remember this one part where you know, in the premise, the one character's like, you know, once we've started, you cannot stop.
Right.
You're in it. And one of the characters is trying to get out. So she leaves the house and she's walking in a straight line, and she's coming to another house, and it's the same house. And it's like, she's just in this like loop, this metaphysical loop, you know, like, but it's just the way that's portrayed. Like, imagine that, you know, you're in this and you can't get out, and you don't know how to get out. You know, I don't know. I found that terrifying.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised I haven't seen that. That would totally be my jam. I watched one here recently. I don't know how I missed it. Dakota Fanning. It was on Netflix. The Watchers, where
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's about pixies, basically, and I mean, I don't want to ruin it for you because you haven't seen it, but this thing, it's insane. She travels out. She's headed somewhere to do this thing, and her vehicle breaks down, and she's like, if I remember right, she's in the Black Forest, of course. You know, so anyway, it goes from there. But dude, I highly recommend this movie. Anything else I say, I'm going to spoil it. But yeah, it just totally, it's crazy. But some of the twists and turns this thing takes, you never see it coming until it's like bam, right there in your face. And it's just,
Mhm.
I love how it's shot. It's one of those movies that just totally catches you off guard.
The weird thing, I'm not even a big horror guy at
I
all.
know. I've been
But
trying
when
to
as soon as
convert him.
Nick
Yeah.
said the story idea, I was like, I love the story. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Like I like writing horror. I like writing like the Diablo book that I did with Adam Gorham is it's pretty out there. It's pretty. I remember like breaking it down to my mom and explaining like, Mom, if you found this book in my room when I was in high school, you would have taken it away. Like, it's pretty gnarly.
But I mean, how much leeway did they give you? Like, you have to be within the constraints of the Diablo lore,
No,
right?
that was the thing is that they really I first of all, I had an amazing editor there, Chloe Fabroni. She's just the best. She's fantastic and she's so kind and she's such a good person. And working with her was great, and she really fought for me. And we would have meetings. So you have the process with when you're working with Blizzard is there's a lot of silos. You have the game dev teams and all that stuff, and then you have editorial, and then you have the lore department. There's a lore department.
Oh
We
wow.
would have these group meetings with like 7 people on the call, and there's a guy whose job is the lore master, like literally the lore master.
Wow.
And so when we were creating this story,
I
we found no, dude,
want that as my business card.
it was the
now.
coolest thing ever. Like his
Lore
office
master.
had all these like awesome like little statues and stuff and books. And he was super cool. And the weird thing was that I read so much stuff because Diablo's lore is insane. Like there's so many books, there's so many things. There's the actual creation story, which borrows from parts of the Bible, and then like basically injects them with steroids and like the Nephilim and all this. It's all biblical, like it's all there.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to find the creation story and then find the times of where things happen and then choose your little pocket. So I chose a little pocket in this point, and then you could figure out where the pocket was by calling back to things that happened in established lore, but that would lead indirectly to things that were going to happen. So it's the way I'm describing it makes it seem like a really like constrained, but it was so fun. Like it was so fun to do, and it was such an awesome process, and it was so great to work with. But anything that I threw out that was over the top and insane, they were like, yeah, that's great. Like it was funny because I remember this happening. There's a scene in the book where one of the characters is having a vision of the future of humanity's demise. And I wanted to tell it really symbolically because it's a dream. So it starts, the scene opens, and I'm having this cave. I need you to know that this is why it always sticks out, because Chloe had a baby on her lap while I'm telling her this, and we're doing a video call. So I'm like, okay, Chloe. So there's the desert.
So she found a random baby.
Her baby. It was a brand new baby. Brand new baby. Little guy. Little baby.
She took a baby.
Little thighs. And so she's like, I'm explaining, like, so there's this broken field and it's dusty. It's like Dust Bowl field. And these like peasants, like ragged clothes, just barely hanging off them. And it's a double page splash. And it's just going to go like a sunrise. That's the vision, is this sunrise. And so it opens with these peasants. And then they're in the sun and it's so hot. And then they're all like looking up. And the sun from the upper over the shoulder shot, the sun is wrapped in a chain. So the sun is in chains. And then the next panel is you see that the chains are being held by this like zombie, like this skeletal, like ragged flesh zombie with a rusted crown. And then the giant zombie vomits boiling blood onto the field. And then the last panel is the people boiling in the blood and drowning in it. And she's like, that's great. That's really good. And I remember being being
We need more of that.
just being like, this is so great. And when you look at the pages, like in the book, it's like, yep, that's exactly what I wanted it to all look like. Like Adam Gorham, like he crushed it on that book. He nailed it. I think they submitted it for the Eisners. I don't know if it's going to win. It'd be really cool if it did, because Adam's art was pretty amazing on that one. He just got this big opening splash with Lilith, which is pretty rad. And when the book was coming out, I made Nick come with me to the Diablo booth at San Diego. I'm like, Nick, this is what this is. I felt like a kid with his dad, and I'm trying to explain stuff. And it was like, and then we got like these crowns with these horns on them and stuff.
Yeah,
we did.
Can I have an extra one to bring to my kids?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Us and our wacky adventures, Nick.
So you guys are basically becoming the next, just say Jim Lee and Chris Claremont.
Oh yeah, for sure. But he's got great facial hair. I can't grow facial hair. I have a terrible mustache. It's terrible, dude. It's awful. My dad has an unbelievably perfect beard, and I'm just an embarrassment to him.
Well, he didn't get it overnight, man.
No, he had it when he was like 8
No, you gotta
years
start,
old.
dude. You gotta start it. I mean, mine's shit. See, well, here we go. You got a cowlick right in here, and I mean, if I grow, I would love to have one of those big full beards.
Nick could get one.
I've got this huge cowlick right here. If it grows out, I've got a ducktail. It kind of sticks straight out of my face and just kind of waves at everybody. So I have to keep it. This is about as long as I can get it, so it doesn't look like teetotal shit, So
Nick's got great facial hair.
I
really
think
upsetting.
I think it might work better now because I have a really salt and peppery beard now. When I was younger, when I grew it out, it was so dark, and I looked like a Balkan terrorist, with it. And my wife was like, "Man, you look creepy. You gotta cut that out."
That's what my wife says when I do just the stash. She's like, I'm not even gonna say what she says I look like, but
Yeah.
she's like, oh yeah, you're not doing that. We'll do the beard, I'll do the goatee, but you can't just do the stash.
I just
You're like an 80s porn star or something.
Teenager troll beard. It's just like, ugh, it's terrible.
Someday, I think I'm gonna give it another shot. Right now, I'm in a smooth shaving phase, so a couple of more years, I'm gonna be at my 50s.
I had to do for years. My company, they made me stay clean shaven, and just here in the last probably the last 3 years, they actually let supervisors have a beard. And man, that you're talking about sweet, having to shave, because I've been in the industry for over 20 years now, and I'm just loving being able to not have to shave every other day,
But even the white in your beard is symmetrical. It looks very even.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if mine does. We'll see.
Just let it go, man. It's going to do what it's going to do. If you want to come back in, you could. I've thought about going platinum white with all mine just to even it up. Just dye it all platinum white, platinum blonde, or whatever you call it.
We got to get your beard in the next issue of Dead Romans. We got to get this beard in there. This is going to happen. We'll give notes for Jose to color it right. I don't think we have pumped the tires of Jose enough. Like, we haven't even brought up Jose Villarrubia. Has been an incredible member of the team. Like, we've mentioned Allison, she's great, but Jose and Andrew need to get their props as well. Sure. Yeah. Andrew's crushing it. He's our letterer. He's fantastic. And Jose Villarrubia handling colors, like specifically his colors are always dope. That sunrise scene. Yeah. That is just like that page, is just perfect. And his variant cover that he did. And I want to buy it, but I can't afford it. I'm broke. I'm poor.
When I got started, I didn't mention this before. I was actually a colorist and an inker before I handled the full art. And Jose was actually one of my big inspirations, and I met him very early on, when I was young and very green. Just randomly, he happened to be at a show in Toronto. I got introduced, and I was gushing, and he's a very charming guy, and we hit it off immediately. And I went out to San Diego with him, and he introduced me to everybody, to Baltimore with him, and it was always my dream to work with him someday. And when we started Dead Romans, Fred was like, "Hey man, do you want to bring on a colorist? Because if you're struggling with a timeline," and I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. But if we're gonna do it, let it be Jose." And I reached out to him, and he agreed immediately. And like, I didn't know, it'd been a while since we talked.
Right.
And I mean, Jose is like an A-lister colorist.
When we did our signing at San Diego, this is funny. Yeah. We did our signing at San Diego at the Image booth. More people brought up other stuff for Jose
yeah,
than anybody brought up our book.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was great. But the thing about Jose was he was very much like, he made people buy the book. If he was going to sign their book, they had to buy ours.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I wish that I was like, Jose just says what he feels. And if you don't like it, he doesn't care. Like, I don't care, whatever. I'm Jose Villarrubia. I don't care what you think. Like, I'm right and you're not right for having a different and it's just like, that's the way he carries himself.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
but you gotta respect that, though.
Oh, he's earned the right to have that opinion. Yeah. And I remember when with Adam and I were at the show last year, and he colored a lot of Valiant work, and he colored work of Adam's when he was doing his run on Exo Manowar, and he brought up his art. And I remember, like, after we left, Adam was like floored, being like, "Jose remembered my art." And I was like, "Yeah, man, Jose's a good guy." He's like, "I don't think you get it. Like, you're not an artist. You're just a writer. You don't understand what that's like for me." That's a big deal. Like, because there is a definite difference between a writer and an artist, like in the terms of like Jose talking to me, I don't get it on the same level because I'm writing, you know what I mean? And I don't mean to disparage writers versus artists, but there is a huge difference. Like if someone like Scott Chandler comes up to me and talks about my writing, or like another prolific writer only type person compliments my writing, it's a huge deal. Like when Joe Quesada like went off about our book to us, and then like, and the thing is, like, I'm used to everyone commenting on the art. Like, I'm always used to it like that. I love that it looks good. But it's always like the art looks great, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, and it's a good story too." Just so you know, like they'll say that to me, and Nick knows what I mean. And that's not like, "Oh, it's so bad for me." That's not what I'm saying. It's like, I'm aware that it's a visual medium, but when we talked to Joe Quesada about it, he stopped, and then he turned to me and he went off about the work that I had done on the story and the character development and the way I was leading things and my layout of stuff. And it was the first time somebody had done that. And it happened to be Joe Quesada. And it was a huge deal. And I remember, like, man, that guy made Nick and I feel like we were the coolest friggin' dudes at the show. Like, he paused his line and he just talked to us, and
that's really cool.
Through the book and found stuff out, and it was great. Like, it was really cool, man.
Joe, guys like Joe. And Jim too. We were talking about Jim earlier, Valentino. He was so supportive of my art, and like, he would say things, and I was just like, wow, coming from him, you need that ego boost, because there's so much self-doubt as an artist. We
have a character named after him in the second arc. The captain of there's a ship, and the captain of the ship is Captain Valentinus. And it's like, that's legitimately for him. Like, he's the guy.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And when we told him that, he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." He thought it was really, like, it's great, like, to have a guy who's been doing it that long that still is like, he gets stoked about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like a legitimate thing.
That's insane. Yeah. So tell me this. I know you can't really get into spoilers or anything on the next art, but where they left off, I mean, things weren't in the best places between Honoria and I mean, it was in a bad place. So are we picking up right where the last arc left off? Or are we gonna have a little time has passed? Or
It's like what, a 10-year gap, right?
oh wow, really?
It's 12 years.
12
Well,
years.
12
Now,
year gap.
I'll let Nick handle what's going on, but an addendum to what you say, the initial ending, like the initial ending of the first arc was different. And it was like there's the big scene where they find each other. And that is a knife twisting scene for everybody.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the original ending. We did not include
Really?
that. That wasn't in that's not how it ended originally. And that is a full credit to our editor, Allison. She goes, symbolically, I love what you do. I love that they don't find each other and you lay things out. She goes, but as somebody who needs them to suffer, they've got to find each other. And so then we changed it like that. But yeah, so
I think that even works better for the second arc.
Yes, it does. So full credit to her.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a freelance editor, Allison's the best.
Sounds like
she's
delighted to get in touch with. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so good. There's a reason that she's almost working exclusively with Chip Zdarsky because she's really good. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll let Nick handle where things start off for our dynamic duo.
Yeah, I mean, without any spoilers, but basically, as you said, 12 years later, and we find Honoria. So Arminius at this point has essentially been leading this union of the tribes, but it's, there's tension within it, and he's leading raids into Roman territory, and vice versa. The Romans are doing retaliatory raids into Germanic territory, and Tiberius the Emperor wants to get rid of Arminius. And who does he enlist to do this? The rumors of this consort that he had named Honoria, who was one of the survivors of the original expedition out there. And that's where Honoria's story enters the fray. And her and her disciple Aymar go on this journey, meeting Flavius, Arminius' brother. And Arminius did actually have this brother who was a Roman general and a loyal Roman, who he was then in conflict with after. If you read what's that book? I, Claudius, they actually touch on that story between Flavius and Arminius. Yeah, it's interesting.
There's the folklore story. Flavius has one eye. Flavius one eye is what they call him.
I draw him with one eye.
Yeah. You got to draw him. He looks like my cousin Ian. He's actually
I modeled him after him.
Modeled after my cousin Ian.
Yeah.
But the Flavius one eye lost his eye during the Pannonian Revolt, which happens before any of the events in Dead Romans. That's where Arminius earned his spurs, so to speak. He was an unbelievable general. Like he won. The things he did in the Pannonian Revolt are like what got him the position that he had in Germania.
So they fought together.
Yeah, they fought together on the same side.
Yeah.
And then the folklore version of the story is once Arminius led his revolt, Flavius was with Germanicus when he went in to hash that shit. And then Arminius took his brother's eye. That's not... Well, maybe it did happen. Who knows? Because there's like four versions of what happened. Yeah. And they were all written like decades after the fact.
Right.
So we kind of play with the idea that Flavius lost his eye from his brother. But there's some cool aspects of things that we wanted to touch on that we just couldn't because we only have the 2 arcs to do, right? And we really wanted to talk more about those Nelda because Arminius had a bride in the Sharutsi tribe, which is one of the things that caused a lot of tension because he took the daughter of a rival, a guy who hated him, named Segestes. He took her daughter as his wife. And back then, you got your wife by literally raiding their farm and stealing her. Like he ran away with her over his shoulder, and they had a son. And when she was captured by the Romans, and the story is that his brother captured her, she was pregnant, and she had her son in Rome, and her son was trained as a gladiator, and then he was killed in the arena as sort of nobody defies Rome. But it's like, I don't know. It would have been cool, like if her son. It'd be cool to have a story. Like we can basically like Ridley Scott it, where he goes on this great tear and history doesn't matter, you know. By the way, I took my kids to see Rome 2 in the theater. They thought it was like the greatest movie they'd ever seen in their lives.
Gladiator 2.
Yeah, Gladiator. What did I say?
Yeah.
Gladius 2?
You said
Rome
2.
Whatever. Rome 2, Total War. Gladiator 2. It's all the same.
I tell you, I loved it, but it didn't have the heart of the first one. That first one was just so, just so epic.
I could watch Denzel Washington do anything.
Oh God!
I could watch him in it.
Yeah,
I could watch Denzel read the phone book, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he was arguably one of the better parts of the movie.
Arguably, he was the best part of the movie. Although the water in the arena, like I'm like, this is so insane. And then we're leaving the theater, and my kids are like, man. And then the Roman army shows up. I'm like, listen, guys, I just want to break this down for you. If 6,000 guys showed up to Rome, they wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't even open the gate. They would just kill them all from the walls. And they're like, yeah, but it's 6,000 men. I'm like, guys, listen, all right? One legion had 15,000 guys, and Rome had 32 of them. So that's nothing. And that's not even including the auxiliary. Right. And they're like, what? I'm like, that movie was cool, but you got to understand what was really happening was way bigger than what they were showing.
Right.
And then like driving home in the theater, like dad's driving the car and ranting to the kids in the back seat about Rome. Cause we're doing a story about Rome. So I think we know a little bit about it.
But I tell you, you mentioned that it was really cool, some of the stuff they did with the movie, but the first one, it really seemed to cover that scale better. The new one seemed it seems small compared to the original.
Thing about efficiency in storytelling, and I think that what happens when you're way more earnest as a creator, like you're feeling the pressure, you're feeling the need to prove yourself. In Gladiator, there was a lot of pressure because the budget was so huge, right? So he needed to prove himself. And that opening scene, like the first big Colosseum action sequence, where they fight with the chariots in the arena, and the guys are going out and they're supposed to get massacred. And there's little things that they do in the dialogue without even they don't beat it up. They never say, the guys are in a lot of trouble, you guys better watch out, gang. They never do that. Right. But in passing dialogue, you just they drew the short straw. They're going to get massacred. Blah, blah. That's if you don't like it, go back to that dung heap that you came from. And you're like, okay, he doesn't like it, but the pressure's on him. He's got to succeed. And then, so you know that the chips are down. They've established in 2 sentences, the chips are down. These guys are in a rough spot. And then they go into the arena, and that is when you see Maximus. You've seen him fight. You've seen him kill. He's the Spaniard. He's unstoppable. And you see him at the beginning, and he's the general. Then you see him take on that new mantle of he is the Spaniard. He is the general. And he takes this ragtag group of murderers, and he
instantly,
he gives them the
you do this, you do that,
and he doesn't
they're
do
trying
it
to flank us
totally
spread out.
Great generals delegate, and he delegates, and the guy that doesn't do what he's supposed to do gets killed. Exactly. And then he goes and he puts his life on the line to save a guy. And there's the thing about action sequences is people think action sequences just need to be a bunch of fighting, but there's so much character work.
There's a dance
with a good one. So he does it all, and there is nothing in the new one that touches that. There's cool action sequences, but there's not all of the action scenes are to show that I'm the best. I'm the best at fighting. But the Spaniard, Maximus, was he cared about people. He was good with the kids. there's so much
It
character work, you know.
it illustrated his charisma too, that the men
Yes,
followed him because they
Because
believed
they,
in him.
yeah, they knew he would give his life for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, we watched the second one in the theater, and then we watched the first one like 2 weeks later at home. And even like my kids are like 11 and 13 are like, yeah, this is a way better movie. It's a way better movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember being like, the visuals from the new one are stunning, but there is a definite like, there's a George Lucas line in an interview, and he's talked about like a special effect is just a tool, and you just
Right.
use a special effect to tell a story. So if special effect without a story is really boring, and I feel like the thing about the second Gladiator movie is the story was a means of using special effects, and so that's why it doesn't land the way it does.
Yeah.
Like there's no need for this scene with the water battle. There's no
Right.
driving necessity. It's
Exactly.
just,
It's not building
cool.
anything. Yeah. It's
And
just there just
It was
for a
like-
wow factor.
Yeah.
It's like let's have these cool ideas for special effects and work a script around them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
Exactly.
very
That's
Michael
what it
Bay,
felt
you
like.
know?
That's what the whole movie felt like.
That being said, I'd go see it again today. I don't care.
Oh yeah. I've watched it multiple times myself. But you know, I find that with most movies nowadays. I mean, you don't have movies like Gladiator and Braveheart and
think
all these epic.
You get them. They're out there. They kind of come and they go quick. I think the Predators. Prey.
Prey. I love
That
movie.
movie
Yes.
is like
That rivals the original. It
goes. And
honestly, I think it's better than the original. I'm gonna go ahead. That's a hot take.
that is a very hot take. I don't necessarily agree, but I love that you said it. Love it. But you know what? What made it so good is that it leaned. It was the first one since the original that really followed the. What made the original good was the Jaws theory. You don't show the
Exactly.
You get whiffs of it. It's whiff, whiff, whiff.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where she's hiding in the beaver dam and the bear's coming, and then the bear
I
gets
love
like,
that.
and it's like, what is killing that bear?
Yeah.
Because you know what the bear is, and you know the bear just got worked. So what messed with the bear,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
And so your brain starts to go with it. And I've explained this concept to my kids using the John Wick movies, because John Wick is so cool. And I feel that the more John Wick movies come out, the less cool he is. Because the first John Wick movie, it's like, oh man, John Wick, he's the baddest dude. You don't mess with John Wick. What did
Right.
he do? Oh, you don't even
Oh,
wonder what
Boyega.
he did.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you're like, oh man, no one messes with this guy. But then by the time it's the fourth movie, it's like clearly a lot of people are willing to mess with John Wick. So clearly a lot of
pretty
people are
much
not
killed
afraid.
half the planet by now. So there's
Yeah,
not
and
really,
I did like in the fourth one where the guy was like, they were fighting, like, I just want to say it's a real honor to fight you. It means a lot to be here right now. That's probably my favorite scene in the whole franchise, because it's like that captures the idea, but the more they do, this hokier and sillier John Wick gets.
100%.
they're going all in. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
He's
care. I'll
already
watch all of them.
okay with the second one, man. Like,
Yeah.
by the end of the second one, you're like, okay, come on.
I
guys.
thought that the second one was gonna be about what he did to get out. That, and they keep not showing it.
Yeah.
But it's like, man,
They're making too much money, man. I mean, they're going to milk this franchise to death.
go ahead, take my money.
Oh yeah,
Take my
I'll
money.
be there. They could do 25 of them if they keep doing what they're doing. I'm going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so over the top. It's insane, but I love it.
Totally.
I mean, it's exciting when you're watching it. I'll give it that. You know,
I'm
but
excited
after,
for choreography.
but I mean,
What was
after
it?
I'm done,
Donnie Yen was in the last one. Wasn't that I loved his character. The blind,
guy.
the blind assassin. Such an awesome addition to that franchise. And I hear they're going to do a spinoff with just him. I can't wait to see it.
Man, Donnie Yen is great in everything.
Oh God, yeah. I loved him in Rogue One.
Yeah. Oh, I loved him
God.
in Hitman Volume 36. Like that was my favorite one. Like there's so many like that. Ip Man is like John Wick. They keep making more of them. It's like Ip Man has a time machine and he fights Julius Caesar. It's like, okay, I'm in. Go ahead.
Yeah.
My favorite Donnie Yen is in Hero.
Oh yeah.
That was my favorite scene in Hero.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
He just rocked it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best scene in the movie, man.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Have you guys seen 13 Assassins?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
13 Assassins.
Oh man.
The one about the samurais. And
the samurai. And
yeah.
they're like, "Are you right? You ride to death." And they're like,
I think maybe.
It's Takahashi Miike. It's like a Japanese movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, you know how North American movies they kind of go up and then this one is just like it's just very slow. The first hour and like 15 minutes. Basically all they're doing is establishing how the guy that they got to kill is the worst dude ever.
Yeah.
To the point that some of the scenes are like awkward about how horrible this guy is.
Yeah.
And they're preparing a big ambush and then it's like 13, are you ready to die? Oh, and you're just like,
wow.
And the last 40 minutes is non-stop.
Yeah.
It's relentless. Like it's non-stop 40 minutes, and it's not the same kind of action sequences. It's just it doesn't end. And when it finishes, when the movie is done, you're just like, okay, all right, I'm done.
Because they know it's like a suicide mission.
Yeah.
Right.
And but they're samurai, right? It's honorable, right?
There's a
good day.
When you're talking about good characterization and writing, one of the guys is like a samurai and he's a duelist, and he's dueled too many people and he's gotten himself in trouble, and he's like, if you don't have a sword, you fight with a scabbard. If you don't have a scabbard, you fight with a stick. If you don't have a stick, you fight with a rock. If you don't have a rock, you fight with your hands. And it's just like, and they establish that in like first 15 minutes of the movie, and then when that guy goes, it's just whew, it is like tooth and nail, brutal to the nines, and it's well,
I'm definitely gonna have to go back and check this out.
Like all those those Akira Kurosawa movies as well, like all of them, they're all so strong. Like love them to death.
I tell you, that's like what was it, the first season of Visions, how they just handed Star Wars over to the Japanese anime artist and just let them run wild with it. I love that. That was insane.
You should listen to Mud 79. Yeah, Nick, I'm going to talk about Mud 79. You should listen to Mud 79.
Mud 79.
I do listen to Mud 79.
No, I know you listen to it. So I did a radio play. Star Wars radio play about like mud troopers, like the lowest of the low Imperial infantry. And it's because I watched Ken Burns' Vietnam.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, the way the story was broken down is like you see the interviews, and the guy was like, listen, my dad went and fought in World War II, and all his best friends were the guys that he enlisted with, the guys that he went to war with. My cousin fought in Korea. All his best friends were the guys he went and fought in Korea with. When Vietnam came, that was my time. It's my time to go. And they had this country, and ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It's my time to go. And I went, and it was not what my parents were told. There was no parades for us liberating Paris and Vietnam. And so I thought about how in Star Wars canon, when the Empire becomes the Empire, when the Republic falls and the Empire becomes the Empire, you have a changing of the flag and the Great Expansion, the Imperial Expansion, which is a thing in Star Trek canon. And so there was this huge recruitment, this huge draw, and I've got this character whose family fought for the Republic in the Clone Wars. And they were so proud to fight the Republic. They believed in the Republic. If it wasn't for the Republic, their planet would have been conquered by the Trade Federation and their farming planet. And they knew what the Trade Federation did. They didn't want to have that happen. So they believed in it. And it's my time. It's my time to go. And he goes off and he joins the Imperial Army. And it's not a good time. And so it's the story. It follows him as just a regular mutter. Just a regular guy caught up in one other planet. Because if you look at the scale of the Empire, after the battle, to put it in perspective, after the Battle of Endor, how many Star Destroyers are left in the galaxy? This is a trivia question. How many Star Destroyers are left? After the Battle of Endor, the Emperor dies. How many are left right then?
I'm not sure, man.
34,000 Star Destroyers are left. So that is the scale of the Empire. So when people talk about like the things that are happening in Star Wars, the scale is so grandiose.
Right.
There's so much room to play with. So he's fighting on some planet you've never heard of, in another nameless battle you've never heard of, because it doesn't matter, because there's trillions of people that live in the Empire and you're not going to hear all their stories.
When you look at it in that context, doesn't the end of like Return of the Jedi not make sense then? Like, why would the Empire collapse? Because
just
one battle station got destroyed. And
Nick, that's a complicated question, and we don't have time to get into it right now. The geopolitical situation of this, but the thing about the Empire was collapsing, and they explain this really, really well in Heir to the Empire. The Emperor was subtly using the Force to manipulate control. And with the loss of the Emperor, because the Emperor
he couldn't do it anymore. He could influence. He was controlling minds and stuff. And plus he could do that, what was that thing he could do? They never really covered it in the movies. They covered it in the books. That he could foresee the way the battle was going to play out.
Yeah, he could enhance everybody's ability. He could project the Force.
Do that to his generals and stuff. Yeah.
Jedi Master Sabaoth to come in. They needed a Jedi because Thrawn needed a Jedi to enhance his forces. Yeah, so that was what he was able to do. And when he died, that was gone. And he created synergy in the Senate and synergy in the military by way of the Force. And without him, everything fractured and fell apart. There was no central leadership and central plan anymore. That's the way it was explained in those books. Sorry, Nick, but it's more complicated. But we can talk about it later.
No, I'm gonna have to check that out, because that's the one thing that I love about Andor, that ground approach. You're seeing them in the mud. You're seeing what they actually have to go through to build this rebellion, and you're seeing all these things for like I can't think of her name, but Serial and the girl that's in oh God, she's in the Empire.
The white coat.
You're saying she's a good person and she believes in it. She doesn't realize how bad it really is.
All those scenes that they have where they're in the council with like the Imperial intelligence.
Love it.
What are we? Are we soldiers? No, we're doctors. We diagnose. Like I know he's a horribly evil man, but what a great manager of people, huh?
Yeah.
We all love to have that guy as a manager.
Oh wow!
Just like the way he plays the room. He asks questions. What are you doing? What is this? Like he
works them. Yeah, he totally works them.
Oh, so great. But dude, I gotta run. I just got the look from the side of the room, man. I gotta go. Yeah,
completely understand. Oh, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I hope we can do this again sometime.
We're gonna do it again.
Anytime,
as
man.
we solicit, you're like on the list, right at the top. Yeah. We'll come back.
But guys, I love the book. Can't wait for the second one. I'm going to push this to everybody I know. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, gentlemen, and y'all have a blessed night. So awesome to talk to both of you.
Awesome, dude. You have a great night too, man.
Thanks, Jerry.
Y'all take care, fellas.
Thanks, man.